A U.S. attack submarine can track a warship for 3 days without being detected once. Its torpedo travels faster than any surface ship can flee, guided by a computer the target never knew was watching. By the time the explosion reaches the surface, the submarine is already gone and the ocean is silent again. Before a single weapon is loaded, the submarine has already been doing something the warship has no answer for. The USS Connecticut runs at 400 feet, silent on battery power. Speed creates noise, and noise is what gets submarines killed. Her screw turns at a rate calibrated to stay below the threshold where blade tips begin to cavitate. That tearing, static-like sound that any passive sonar array within 15 miles would classify in seconds. So the boat moves at a deliberate pace, and the water around her stays quiet. The control room runs on red light. The crew on watch speaks in low voices when they speak at all. The hull outside is cold, the ocean darker than any surface night, and somewhere ahead, a warship is moving and generating sound it has no idea is being recorded. The sonar crew does not see anything. There are no windows, no cameras, no images of the surface. What they have are hydrophones embedded in a bow-mounted cylindrical array and a towed cable trailing 3,000 feet behind the boat, roughly 10 football fields of acoustic sensor pulled silently through the deep. The longer the array, the lower the frequency it can detect. Low-frequency sound travels farther in water than any other signal in nature, bending around thermal gradients and carrying across ocean basins without losing enough energy to become unclassifiable. A surface warship running at 25 knots produces a machinery signature detectable at ranges measured in the hundreds of miles. The sonarman does not need to see the target. He needs to hear it, and he has. But hearing it is only the beginning of the problem. The towed array gives a bearing line, a direction from which the sound is arriving. It does not give range. The contact exists somewhere along that line, from 2 miles out to 30. And the only way to narrow that uncertainty is to maneuver, which means the Connecticut risks becoming the thing being classified. Too far from the contact and the bearing lines converge too slowly to produce a usable firing solution. Too close, and the Connecticut enters the outer edge of the target's own passive detection envelope, where the advantage reverses. The Connecticut has been threading this gap for 3 days without the contact's knowledge. The sonarman calls out a classification. Blade count and shaft rate match a Submarine-class destroyer. Every warship class runs its propulsion machinery at slightly different shaft rates and harmonic frequencies, and those signatures are cataloged and confirmed against a database before a contact receives a formal designation. A wrong classification means the wrong weapon parameters, the wrong intercept geometry, and a torpedo that runs wide while the submarine has announced its position to every passive sensor within range. The sonar man has been tracking this contact for 6 hours. He has never seen it. The SOFAR channel, a thermal and pressure layer sitting between 600 and 1,200 meters where sound refracts horizontally instead of dispersing outward, can carry a warship's machinery signature across 3,000 miles before the signal drops below detection threshold. A submarine inside that layer can hear surface combatants operating in the next ocean basin. The Connecticut is not in the channel yet. She is shallow, building the picture, committing to nothing until the geometry forces the next decision. The sonarman leans forward. His headset carries a low, rhythmic pulse, steady and mechanical, the sound of something built to run for weeks without variation. He adjusts the bearing strobe on his display with 2 fingers. The line sharpens. He does not shift in his chair because sound transmits through the hull. And right now, the hull is listening. The contact is there. It is real. It has no idea this room exists. The bearing resolves to within 2 degrees. That is precise enough to begin the next problem. The fire control team is already at their consoles. The contact is still classified as probable. The fire control team is building a solution anyway. Target motion analysis requires the Connecticut to become a platform for mathematics. The sonar team holds a bearing to the contact, but a single bearing line is a direction, not a position. To resolve range, course, and speed, the fire control team must deliberately change the Connecticut's own course multiple times and force the geometry to resolve around those own-ship maneuvers. 3 separate headings, each one logged and fed into the AN/BYG-1 fire control system. Each course change creates a brief acoustic transient, the sound of water loading differently across the hull. And each transient is an opportunity for the contact sonar team to begin building a reciprocal bearing line. Too many maneuvers too quickly and the Connecticut becomes the contact. Too few and the solution uncertainty never collapses enough to give the torpedo a realistic chance of acquisition. The AN/BYG-1 processes the geometry continuously. On the fire control screens, the solution uncertainty circle, the radius inside which the target could plausibly be, narrows with each new data point. At 300 yards of uncertainty, the radius spans roughly 3 city blocks. At that radius, a warship moving at 28 knots can cross the full air circle in under 4 seconds. A torpedo launched into that circle might acquire. The fire control officer wants it under 100 yards before he puts a recommendation in front of the commanding officer. The contact changes course. On the display, the bearing line shifts 2 degrees left. The solution updates. The uncertainty tightens to 130 yards, then 90. The tubes are flooded. The solution is locked. The CO has one decision left to make. Flooding the torpedo tubes is not a silent act. The hydraulic system that floods a tube creates a transient loud enough to be logged by an attentive sonar operator who is specifically listening for it. The fire control team chose the moment carefully, a period when the contact was in a turn, its propulsion noise elevated above baseline, masking the Connecticut's preparation. That window lasted 40 seconds. If the contact had straightened out 10 seconds earlier, the preparation would have been audible and the approach would have needed to start over. The Mark 48 ADCAP torpedo is 19 inches in diameter and just over 19 feet long, roughly the length of a large pickup truck weighing nearly as much as one, crammed into a tube that barely clears its outer casing. It travels at 55 knots, faster than any surface warship in the area can run. Its wire guidance range extends to approximately 10 miles, which means the Connecticut will remain inside the target's potential counterattack envelope for the entire guided phase. The crew is committed now. There is no version of the next 10 minutes that does not involve staying close enough to control the weapon. The commanding officer reviews the solution. The target's position, course, and speed are predicted values. Projections from the last confirmed bearing, extended forward to the moment of intercept. The torpedo does not aim where the contact is. It aims where the contact will be. That is a meaningful distinction when the contact is moving at 28 knots and the solution is built from geometry. If the contact turns in the next 60 seconds, the torpedo will run to empty water and the entire approach resets to 0. That risk is accepted. The CO calls fire. The water impulse system engages. There is no explosion, no sharp crack, just a heavy hydraulic thump that moves through every frame and bulkhead in the boat, a sound the crew feels in their chests before they hear it in their ears. The torpedo is gone. The tube is empty. The umbilical wire, thin as a telephone cable, begins paying out behind the weapon as it accelerates into the dark. You'd expect the hardest part to be hitting the target. It isn't. For the first several miles of its run, the Mark 48 is not autonomous. A hair-thin copper wire connects it to the Connecticut's fire control system. And through that wire, the fire control team can see the torpedo's depth, its heading, its speed, and the updates it's receiving from its own sensors. They can steer it. They can correct its course if the solution drift has moved the target. But while the wire is live, the Connecticut cannot maneuver freely. Any sharp turn risks snapping the wire, cutting off guidance at the worst possible moment, when the torpedo is still too far from the target to acquire independently. Too aggressive a maneuver and the wire breaks, the torpedo goes autonomous early, and the precision that justified the approach disappears. Too conservative, and the Connecticut holds its position long enough for the target's sonar team to build a firing solution of its own. The fire control officer watches the torpedo track update on his screen. The weapon is holding course. The closing rate is consistent with a target that has not yet detected anything. The wire stays live for 8 miles. Then the fire control officer calls it. The wire cuts free at last. In the torpedo's onboard computer, that severed connection is a trigger. The passive seeker goes silent. The active sonar transducer powers on. The first ping goes out, a short, hard pulse of sound that reflects off everything within range and comes back with the geometry of the target painted across it. The seeker finds the contact at approximately 1,500 yards. At 55 knots, that is under 50 seconds to impact. The target's sonar team is now hearing something, but classification takes time, reporting takes time, and the weapons officer on a surface ship who gets a flash report of an inbound torpedo 50 seconds out has no realistic defensive option. The warship's crew will never hear what's coming from this submarine. They were never going to. The terminal guidance geometry aims not at the hull, but below it, approximately 30 feet beneath the keel, the depth of the deep end of an Olympic diving pool. The warhead does not detonate on contact. It detonates in open water below the ship. The explosive charge creates a gas bubble that expands outward in a sphere roughly the width of a large building's main floor. The bubble expands. The hull flexes toward it. Then the bubble collapses. The hull flexes back. No steel structure designed for waves and storms is designed for that oscillation at that frequency. The keel fails. The destroyer lists. The first thing the crew feels is not the sound, but the acceleration. The deck tilting before any alarm sounds, before any announcement, before anyone on the bridge has processed what the passive sonar operator was trying to report. Then the sound arrives, then the lights fail, then the alarms begin. The Connecticut is already 15 miles away, running deep and quiet on a course that takes it out of the area. There is no broadcast, no confirmation, no radio call. The crew does not celebrate. They run the escape checklist and they go deeper. The commanding officer will file a report through a communications protocol that uses a burst transmission so short it is acoustically invisible. The report will be received and logged. The submarine will not surface for days. She is already below the thermal layer, invisible to the sonar systems of any ship that might be dispatched to find her. What sank the destroyer was not primarily the warhead, it was the 72 hours of complete silence that came before it. The listening, the patience, the mathematics, and the discipline to stay invisible until the last possible second. The warhead was just the period at the end of a very long sentence.